After a first half lap on Monday evening ended abruptly by red flags and a crash at Glen Helen, it was once again time for the lightweight class to get the festivities of Classic TT Race Week started in 2025.
I've only done 3 laps, and I went quite quick then the other day, so standing lap of just about 115, which is quite okay for an old fella like me, so no, happy enough really.
Looking forward to this one. Not as nervous today as well. Had a practice run on Monday, so ultimately we can have a bit more relaxed tonight, hopefully.
Adverse weather throughout the day meant an early morning start became yet another evening race, as riders and bikes finally filled the grid under thankfully sunny skies, although under the trees there were still plenty of damp patches. A mix of 250cc Grand Prix bikes and 400cc Supersports from yesteryear, fans lining the start line would be greeted by fond smells and sounds as two-stroke machinery came to life ahead of the first racing action of Classic TT in 2025. First to receive the ceremonious tap on the shoulder and commence his run down towards Bray Hill would be Adam McLean aboard his Lougher Racing Yamaha. Joe Yerdsley was due to start at number 2, but after suffering issues earlier on in the event, Mike Brown's Laycock Racing Yamaha would set off second on the road. Brown's Laycock teammate and 10-time TT race winner Ian Lougher would set off next. After having set a blistering pace in Monday morning's final qualifying session, Lougher also the class winner 12 months ago. Stuart Hall completed a leading quartet of Yamaha machinery for number 5. 6th on the road and the first of the Honda 250s, Michael Dunlop would commence his chase of the leading pack after setting the pace throughout qualifying. His Honda singing as he plunged through the bottom of Bray Hill, whilst the leaders on the road made their way through Union Mills on the run to the first timing sector at Glen Helen. With Manxman Gareth Arnold missing from the start list at number 7, Welshman Rhys Hardesty was next on the second Lougher Racing Yamaha, followed by Dan Sale at number 9 and Chris Moore at number 10. The first of the 400s, Nathan Harrison on an immaculately turned out Honda VFR wearing the number 11 would swiftly set about chasing the pack ahead. At Glen Helen it would be advantage Michael Dunlop, 2 seconds ahead of the Laycock Racing teammates Mike Brown leading Ian Lougher with under 4 seconds covering the top 3. Meanwhile, Nathan Harrison retired at Ballacrane, his 400 Honda coming to a stop just over 7 miles into the course. In the battle for 4th, Manxman Dan Sale was just 3/4 of a second clear of Stuart Hall, a previous podium finisher in this class. By the time the leaders had made their way to Ballath, Michael Dunlop had already managed to close the gap on the road to number 3, Mike Brown, in turn opening his lead on the pack to over 8 seconds. Brown meanwhile slipped to 9th place in the overall leaderboard. Ian Lougher was both second on the road and second on the timing sheets, with Dan Sale leaping over the bridge and jumping to 3rd in the standings. Close behind, Stuart Hall ensured the battle would be on for the final podium position. Adam McLean completed the top 5 at this second timing point of the opening lap, chased closely by Rhys Hardesty. In Ramsey, Adam McLean was still first on the road, the Lougher Racing Yamaha in a close battle with Dan Sale and Stuart Hall. When the next riders arrived to the north of the island, it showed Dunlop had increased his lead by a further 5 seconds to 13 over Lougher. And when Dan Sale crossed the sector line at Ramsey, the leaderboard showed he was only 6/10 behind McLean and a 10th ahead of Stuart Hall in the battle for the final podium position. Adam McLean refused to relinquish his lead on the road come the bungalow at the top of the mountain. In fact, he had found pace over his rivals, moving to 2nd in the standings before commencing the drop down the mountain towards the grandstand. Michael Dunlop continued to extend his lead to almost 20 seconds, despite finding himself in a tight on-the-road battle with Lougher and Brown. The two Laycock teammates sat third and sixth in the standings, with Dan Sale and Stuart Hall sitting between them. McLean was the first across the line to complete lap 1. The Northern Irishman on to his final lap with 17 seconds to find if he was to challenge Dunlop for the race lead. Dunlop crossed the beam next with an opening lap over 115 miles an hour from a standing start. Mike Brown's pace had varied during the race. He lost 30 seconds in one sector, but then was back on the pace of the leaders. Here we see him glance down at the bike twice, shortly before coming off at Brandywell on his way down the mountain. Take a look at the replay. Thankfully, the Cork rider was unhurt, though the bike not so much. In the battle for the final podium position, 6 seconds separated Lougher, Sale and Hall. With his pace stabilising, Adam McLean had survived a second pass through Glen Helen in the lead on the road, but Michael Dunlop had once again extended his lead on the timing page to almost 20 seconds. Lougher was starting to solidify his podium, gaining 4 seconds on the pursuing Sale and Hall, just 2.8 seconds separating the pair. McLean safely navigated the bridge at Ballath, the number 1 machine still the race leader on the road, as he accelerated out of the village to Ballacry Jump. But it was still the number 6 Honda in first place, the gap hovering around 19 seconds with just over half a lap to go. Ian Lougher continued to hold third place, the Welshman now unlikely to repeat his class success from 12 months ago, but a podium still a fantastic result for the 62-year-old TT veteran. In the Sale Hall battle, the number 5 bike was now only 2.1 seconds adrift. Fourth place still very much up for grabs with 20 miles still to run. In the 400s, Craig Neve was the best placed rider in 9th overall, the Lincolnshire man returning to racing following his crash during qualifying for May's Northwest 200. Just missing the 152-mile-per-hour barrier through the Sulby Straight speed trap, Adam McLean had closed the gap to Michael Dunlop to 18 seconds come Ramsey. Though with just the mountain run to come, a change of lead would seem unlikely. Ian Lougher had once again extended his lead in the podium battle, but it was all eyes on the fight for 4th on this final lap. Dan Sale and Stuart Hall separated by just 0.8 of a second at Ramsey. A fast run up the mountain mile would be crucial. Over the tram lines at the bungalow for the final time for Adam McLean, the number 1 bike on course for a second place finish. But on the run up Halewood Heights, McLean's Yamaha had an issue and he would have to complete the race on only 1 cylinder. Cruising on his MD Racing Honda, Michael Dunlop had just the downhill run to the finish, separating him from his 4th lightweight class win. Ian Lougher in 3rd place, but with McLean suffering mechanical issues, could the Welshman grab 2nd? And with only half a second between Dan Sale and Stuart Hall, 4th place was still very much up for grabs on the return to Douglas. Across the line came Michael Dunlop with a comfortable and commanding victory, but it was all eyes on Adam McLean, clearly suffering mechanical gremlins on the run to the finish. Through came Ian Lougher to secure 2nd place, while Sale and Hall's fight for 4th suddenly became the fight for 3rd, the two of them chasing down McLean. Just 7/10 separating the 3 riders, the number 1 bike just held on to retain a well-deserved 3rd place finish. Dan Sale crossed the line having just clinched 4th from Stuart Hall in 5th. Completing the top 10 would be Hardesty, Dokubil, Michael Sweeney with Craig Neve and Paul Cassidy, the top 2 on 400 machinery in 9th and 10th positions.
Yeah, it's grand, yeah, got the front, that was the main thing, and kept at it, and me and Joe has won the race, that's what I'm here to do.